sure what I've watched the game back, but I didn't sit there tallying up the penalties.
Okay.
I just wanted to see how ridiculous the refereeing decisions were. The refereeing decisions were fucking nonsense in this game.
Right, okay.
It was nuts. Now, invariably, the winning try is going to be off a dodgy decision in this game with the terrible effort that Stokes and his touch judges did.
Right.
I don't want to slam them too much, but they haven't given me much choice.
Okay, no worries.
Right. We might as well work back through the mistakes. So, I do think Manfredi got it down in the field of play. I've not seen anything that contradicts that. I'm sure Salford fans will disagree, but I think he got it down just on the line before sort of going over the line, just out of touch.
Okay.
I think he got it down, but obviously there was a loose ball in the play of the ball area. Depending on who you support, that was either a clear knock-on by Talia Matautai or a very fucking obvious hand in the ruck by the Salford player. Like, blatant. Like, unbelievable. Like, Salford fans...
Can I assume at this point that you're going for hand in the ruck?
Hold on. Salford fans, watch that back 100 times and tell me if you don't think that there was a hand in that ruck. Hand on heart, swear on, like, your children's life or whatever. There's no way that there wasn't a hand in the ruck. The actual correct result from that decision should have been a penalty to Wigan right in front of the sticks.
Right.
With 2.5 minutes left, a minute would have gone off the clock. Salford would have had about the same amount of time, but all they would have had to do is get into range for a penalty. Unfortunately, they couldn't do that. They actually gave away 2 penalties themselves in the, I don't know, mind loss that went. Sal was particularly bad at that point in time in the last couple of minutes. Go before that, and it was Wigan's turn to be aggrieved because Salford got given a try that came directly from a play of the ball. What was played, whilst the player was practically on his knees, made no attempt to actually play the ball and just sort of threw it back and fell on the floor on his knees.
Right.
He never got up to play it properly. He never played it properly. It was never a proper play of the ball. The correct decision, actually, everyone can watch this back, Wigan fans, Salford fans, was probably a penalty to Salford right in front of the stick.
Right, okay. You can see where we're going with this.
So there's no guarantee then that Salford would have necessarily scored from that next set they would have got or not. They might well have done the way they were playing at that point. They really had put the pressure on. For 55 minutes, they didn't seem to have an answer to how to break down Wigan's goal line defence, which was outstanding, which was the difference in this game.
Okay.
Ultimately, was Salford's lack of making their chances count compared to Wigan's goal line defence being outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, that should never have been a play on from that play of the ball. It should have been a penalty to Salford because I think the player probably was interfered with by the man at marker. So that's 2 tries that should have been both ruled out. Mm-hmm. The next try we go back to was Salford's second try. Legitimate, fair, good try. Logan Tompkins picks up the ball at ruck, throws a cut-out pass to Josh Griffin, who swapped sides with Sal in the second half, which was interesting. He scored, good try. They deserved it at that time. They were putting all the pressure on. They were finally finding ways to break Wigan down. The convicted spousal abuser, Robert Louis, had a really good game, instrumental in all that. Mm-hmm. But the first Salford try, when the scores were 16-2, came from the next play of the ball from a play that I think should have been a penalty to Wigan. Craig Kopchak was tackled, arm hit the floor, 2 men were on top of him.
Right.
He knows his arm's hit the floor, but he offloads it.
Okay.
He's, I think, sort of arguing that it didn't hit the floor, but it did. Mm-hmm. Now...
So there's your penalty.
That should be a penalty, I think. But according to the referee, it was play on.
Oh, good.
It was, go back, play it. You were held, but you didn't know. If you don't know when 2 blokes are on top of you and your arms hit the floor that you're held, I'm sorry. That to me is a penalty every day. Even though they've softened that rule up a little bit, I understand why. The softening of that rule doesn't explain at all why Anthony Gelling was made to play the ball 3 times in what could only be described as a voluntary tackle, if not a penalty. I just don't understand how it happened. But that happened just after that. That was one of the most baffling decisions. I probably would have given a voluntary tackle, but I don't know why. I just don't know what went on. Basically, the referee must have called hell that I couldn't hear.
Yeah.
So Gelling went to play the ball, or he didn't, in which case it's a voluntary tackle. I don't know. It was absolutely nuts and baffling. But then this Kopchak one happened, and to me, I mean, it was a good finish from Sal. It was a tough finish from the kick that he got on the very next play. But to me, that was a penalty to Wigan.
Yeah.
the Wigan's third try, which is the next one going back, which took it to 16-2.
Okay.
Anthony Gelling's try. The try itself on that play was no issue, but the try came about from a penalty on the last tackle for an obstruction on the chaser, which was Sam Powell.
Right.
It was a blatant obstruction. It was cheating by the Salford player, but it shouldn't have mattered because Sam Powell was 2 yards offside when the kick was put in. Matty Smith never quite got in front of him to put him back onside. He was always just behind him in this chase. So actually, the penalty should have gone to Salford for an offside. There's no way Wigan should have had that ball to score that try. Right. So we're talking about 4 of the 5 tries in the second half. Potentially, probably, should have been penalty to the other team.
Oh, God.
Or penalties, and not tries.
I'm assuming that we can all laugh about it now, or is
Salford fans are probably still
pretty pissed
beaten
off
up about it, but I don't see why they should be if they look at the game again, because it really was farcical. These are all genuine mistakes that happened that I can't see how they were allowed to go on, because they were all pretty blatant.
Okay.
And especially because the penalty count was quite high anyway, and he wasn't afraid to blow his whistle. He was blowing it most of the first half. He stopped and just let things go. One of the other strange decisions in the second half was Salford had what was either a 2-on-1 ball strip or a knock-on by Salford. What happened was 6 to go in the middle of the pitch. That put Salford in really good territory. Baffling. Like, these were all baffling decisions.
Yeah.
Second half was an absolute write-off referees-wise for both sides, to be honest, and that's why no one, I don't feel, can argue about the end result, because Wigan overcame the situation more. Mostly because of their goal line defence in the first half, in the first 55 minutes really, and their ability to take advantage of the opportunities they had. Now, the other contentious decision happened in the first half. It was offside. Don Manfredi scored a try that was ruled out for offside. Now, it was the touch judge on the very far side of the pitch that called for the offside. The touch judge on the near side ran to the corner, so that would suggest he's saying it's a try. The referee was ready to give a try, but the other touch judge came in and they had a bit of a chat over the little microphones and headpieces, and it was no try for offside. I haven't seen a good enough replay to know whether Gelling was offside or not, because he did get in close to the play and he was in front of Manfredi. Not sure he was in front of Smith, who kicked the ball. I know that Bateman and the prop forward, who I'm not sure who it was now off the top of my head, inside of him were offside, but they never. The kick was from about 4 metres out from the goal line, basically. It was very close. They never got, or maybe about 6, 7. They never got involved in the play though. So the only thing it could be is Gelling must have been offside. Now, how the touch judge furthest away from the game was who had to look through basically 2 teams was the only one convinced of that. Yet the try wasn't given. I'm a bit confused by it, but I haven't seen a replay that showed me clear enough. Gelling was definitely onside. So fair enough. Whatever. I can't really argue, but it was a bit of a dicey call.
Touch and go.
Yeah. Other than that, what I said, Wigan's goal line defence against Salford, who made a lot of breaks. Convicted spousal abuser Robert Louis did have a few really nice breaks. Oliver Gildart, though, played really well both ways. He made one mistake later on that could have iced it for Wigan anyway, when he could have run down the sideline for his hat-trick maybe. He had a long way to go, but it was he scored 2 really good tries, so there was no way to say he wasn't going to score that one. But yeah, it was overshadowed completely by the farcical refereeing decisions that no one could make any sense of. But Oliver Gildart played well for Wigan. Robert Louis played well. Convicted spousal abuse.
I was going to say, despite being a convicted spousal abuse,
played well for Salford. I felt that Salford's pack wasn't quite as good, or didn't quite get on top. People like Griffin and Jordan Wallen played, not Adam Wallen, but Griffin, Kopchak, they didn't quite make the impression on this game that they had done on the other games, particularly like the St Helens one. Whereas Wigan, the back three, the people haven't been playing well for Wigan, played well. So I'd say fair result, but I'm a Wigan fan.
Individually, yes. Who played well?
2 tries, 8 tackles, 140 metres and 2 clean breaks for Oliver Gildart. Anthony Gelling had a try assist, 126 metres and 2 clean breaks. Liam Farrell with 106 metres and Sean O'Loughlin with 104 metres were the workhorses in the pack.
Speaking of Wigan players, I drove past Josh Charnley on the way to Southport on Sunday.
All right.
Yeah, in his big Range Rover, Joshy C.
Yeah.
And all that, yeah. And I thought to myself, it's like a dog's cock. That's the only thing I could think. Sorry, go
on. Josh Griffin with a try, 6 tackles, 164 metres for...
him?
For Salford.
Okay.
Convicted domestic abuser Robert Louis with a try assist, 6 tackle plus 157 metres, 2 clean breaks and 3 offloads. If you're inspired by his good performances to donate to Tom's charitable cause, it's justgiving.com/Super League Pod stands up. Or you can check out our blog. Justin Carney, 5 tackle plus 139 metres, and also a great ability to step off the mark. He goes like a yard sideways.
Right.
I don't know why. But as well, he was involved in one of the flashpoints that probably was actually handled quite well by George Stokes.
Did he try and fuck George Stokes' wife?
No, there was a fight.
All right.
He'd
not really his wheelhouse then.
He'd stumbled into the line and Greg Burke caught him high. Now, Greg Burke wasn't going for a head-high shot, but he hit him in the head, so it is a penalty. Got up in a bit of a kerfuffle, as you expect. A couple of Wigan players came over, a couple of Salford players came over, Bateman being the main Wigan one, and no, they weren't actually doing anything.
Right.
Then a cheeky little punch was thrown on Bateman. I think it was Logan Tompkins, but he'll always get away with it because no one suspects of him. But he threw a cheeky little jab in. I watched the replay several times to try and establish who it was.
Right.
But it didn't look like
and
Carney's
come down
wrist.
on Logan Tompkins.
Yeah.
Right.
Now Carney did have a go back at Greg Burke and what have you. But then afterwards they sort of made up a little bit when they were both being pulled over by the referee and stuff. It was something of nothing. It was what it was. Right. But yeah, there was a little bit of a ruckus, and I think Logan Tompkins maybe got away. We'll wait to see the disciplinary review, but
just fucking. I'd always hoped that there'd be one Tompkins brother that wasn't a prick.
And finally, Tommy Lee with 40 tackles and 10 marker tackles did his job in defence that he seems to do every week, and he plays a myriad of positions in the pack for them during a game. So.
Yes, yeah, Mr. Utility.
Okay, from the captain.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's see what happened on Twitter then. Chris Young at
I've had my say. Now it's time for the Salford fans.
Big B30. Referee George Stokes, absolute dog turf for both teams. Completely lost control at one point. Fair enough. Mark Rosevear can't win against refereeing like that, but good performance by the Reds. Well done.
Mark did actually credit Wigan as well for probably just about edging it, so I'll give him that too.
Yeah, John Pemberton, the referee, brackets from Wigan, was a joke. Proud of Salford though. A year ago we were referring to the towel, great attitude shown. Bob Speakman, Salford shafted 2 years in a row by poor match officials at Wigan. Someone who we don't know got in touch and said...
he found it very difficult to comprehend writing his name in a box that says your name or Twitter handle. Or he didn't want us to know.
Maybe he's about to say something so controversial he wishes to remain anonymous. Let's see. Joke, shocking, rough all night for both teams. Last try with a knock-on. Great stuff.
That's not controversial then, is it?
No, perhaps
that's true.
Maybe he's just hiding behind his poor spelling and bad punctuation. Big Lad Reds got in touch. He said Stokes is the worst ref I've ever seen. PD Marshall, fed up of constant crying over refs. We're turning it to football. Things go for you, things go against you. Still coming into the season, the best teams are at the top and the worst teams are at the bottom. It's so much easier to say that, I find, when a ref's had a shitter and you've won, than it is to say on the back end of a defeat of that nature. I would just suggest. But we'll see. I've
got to say, question mark has summed it up pretty well.
Yeah, he has. Okay.
So maybe next time tells you fucking up.
Yeah, fair enough. Paulina Lewis, how much is Phil Clark being paid by Q Cash for his blatant bias towards Salford? Probably not as much as the RFL get paid by Wigan to maintain their home record, probably. Joking aside, the knock-on was as bad as the offside try against Widnes last year. There you go. So, some controversy. On to Friday night then, and that saw Hawkeye take on a St Helens side. Surprisingly, including James Roby in the squad. I didn't anticipate he would be back this week, and he started on the interchange bench. It was a difficult game to watch.
Yeah, it
wasn't the best spectacle, but there was a lot of points scored. My immediate thought upon seeing the lineups was, well, if Roby's fit enough to be on the interchange, should he not be playing from the start and hopefully give St Helens that bit of impetus?
As the game went on, you had to question just how fit he was as well.
Exactly, he does look like he's been rushed back.
It took until the 60-something or 50-something of a minute to bring him on. It was surprising, but go on.
Yeah, exactly. Both sides spent a period of time with players in the sin bin, and even then it didn't really look like it didn't look like a proper game of rugby league was going to break out. But it was just a bit turgid, I thought, at times.
There was a lack of attacking quality from both sides. Obviously, Hull KR were hampered further by Albert Kelly going off, and they ended up with Maurice Blair, who's moved away from being a half and more into a back rower, and Graham Horn, who never was a half, playing as their half-back combination for pretty much the majority of the game, that's not going